Sam Raimi's Spider-Man went through numerous iterations during early development. The foundation for the film was primarily based on James Cameron's unproduced version, with David Coep initially crafting the screenplay. Over time, the script evolved through multiple rewrites, borrowing heavily from Cameron's ideas while gradually transforming it into the version we see on screen. As a result, early drafts of the film contain some striking differences that make watching Raimi's final product feel almost surreal compared to what it could have been.
If somebody told you I was just your average ordinary guy not a care in the world, somebody lied.
Structurally, the early script mirrors the final film in many ways. It still opens with Peter and his classmates visiting Columbia University, but there are several notable deviations. The script begins with Peter being beat up in an alleyway by Flash Thompson and his friends. The reason? Peter tried to talk to MJ on the school bus, which did not sit well with Flash. Making matters worse, Peter's personality in this draft is far more sarcastic and quick-witted than the shy, soft-spoken version in the movie. His snarky remarks only serve to aggravate Flash further. Mary Jane Watson is also portrayed quite differently in this version. While she is still friendly and easygoing, this MJ does not know Peter. Despite being in the same class and living next door, this creates a noticeable emotional distance between them, with little to no romantic development throughout the story. There's also a weird take on Peter's transformation.
The hell wrong with you? Hey, yo!
After waking up from his fever, he is covered in sticky white residue. When he looks at his wrist, a white ooze leaks from his hand. Curious, he presses down on it and accidentally shoots a web into his face. This scene draws inspiration from the organic webbing idea in Cameron's version of the film. There's also an interesting moment in the early draft where Peter practices his web shooting for the first time. He heads to a nearby junkyard to test his web shooting abilities, but quickly realizes something's off. His aim is terrible. It's not that he's inaccurate, the problem lies in the way his webs behave. They arc unpredictably, veering off in strange, random directions, making it nearly impossible for him to hit a target directly. Frustrated, Peter scavenges through the junkyard, gathering many mechanical parts. He solders everything together into a rough, makeshift device, a pair of wrist-mounted web shooters. These aren't traditional comic-style web shooters that generate the webbing themselves. Instead, they serve one specific purpose: to help Peter aim. Once equipped, the webs hit every target with pinpoint accuracy. This idea of the web shooters being a non-mechanical device stems from James Cameron's original script. In that version, the webbing still came from Peter's body, and the web shooters were purely cosmetic. What's especially interesting is that this concept made its way into the final film. One piece of promotional material from the movie confirmed that Peter built the web shooters not to shoot webs, but to help him aim more accurately. However, the web shooters were later removed through CGI. These are just a few examples of the many small yet intriguing changes scattered throughout the early drafts. Dr. Octopus was initially written as the secondary villain in this version of the Spider-Man script. He was a significant part of the story for some time, and Sam Raimi even confirmed his involvement during Comic-Con 2000. Clearly, he was strongly considered for the film, as there was a wealth of conceptual artwork depicting him in various scenes. When we're first introduced to Dr. Octopus, he's working inside Oscorp. He wears a white lab coat and is attached to a machine that controls his mechanical arms, which pierce and manipulate chemicals within a sealed glass chamber, a scene that appears in this early conceptual work. In this draft, Otto Octavius replaces Dr. Strom from the final film. He oversees Oscorp's major projects, including the glider and the human enhancement serum. Norman Osborn, in an attempt to please his shareholders, fires the entire research team, including Otto. As he's being forcefully removed by security, he lashes out using his tentacles in a violent rampage. The scene ends with Otto screaming in agony as the mechanical arms encircle his head. The next time Dr. Octopus appears is during Green Goblin's attack on the Unity Day festival. The chaos is broadcast live via a news helicopter. Otto watches the event unfold on TV, badly injured but still clearly unhinged. When he spots the glider in use, he becomes enraged, furious that his invention is being used without his consent. He vows revenge on Norman Osborn and swears to reclaim what's his. His next major appearance takes place at the Daily Bugle. After Peter argues with J. Jonah Jameson over the newspaper's anti-Spider-Man rhetoric, a tentacle suddenly comes into the office and grabs Jameson by the throat. It's Dr. Octopus. He demands to know who's taking the photos of Spider-Man. This scene was also shown in conceptual artwork and served as an early version of the Daily Bugle attack.
Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?
I don't know who he is. This stuff comes in the mail.
You're lying!
I swear.
As Peter tries to slip away, Otto blocks all the exits with his arms, forcing Peter to confront him as himself. Otto then demands to know the identity of the Green Goblin. Peter, genuinely unaware, tells him he doesn't know. Otto leaves, but not before issuing a warning. He's keeping an eye on Peter from now on. Norman Osborn's arc is not fundamentally different from the final version. I would say that he's considerably colder and exhibits fewer emotions than his more charismatic self in the movie. Norman in this version is much more critical of his son, Harry Osborn, an aspect of his character that will lead to the film's central conflict. Norman also has no connection to Peter Parker, so the father-son dynamic is no longer an aspect. Like the final movie, Norman becomes the Green Goblin by inhaling the performance enhancer. However, the context for why it happens is different. Norman is attacked by Dr. Octopus, who flings him across the room using the tentacles. During Otto's rampage, the glass container with the chemicals Otto was working on breaks, causing a green gas to leave the container and envelop Norman, transforming him into the Green Goblin. Since the conflict regarding the Oscorp board members is no longer present in this version of the story, Osborn's conflict revolves around a different character instead, his son. You see, much like the final movie, Norman is upset at Harry for not having any ambition or drive to become great like himself. When the Green Goblin emerges, he states that Norman deep inside wants to kill the weak link in his family, now making it his mission to get rid of Harry once and for all. Norman then attacks Harry Osborn at the Unity Day festival. After Green Goblin attacks Aunt May, Peter is guilty. He runs home in distress and sits at home reminiscing about his life. The pressure gets to him, and in an act of vulnerability, Peter throws his costume into the fireplace, watching it burn to ashes. This scene was in another version of the story, in a different form, where Peter, instead of running home, goes to the hospital boiler room and burns his costume there. After destroying his costume, Peter is approached by a mysterious man in a black trench coat who hands him an envelope addressed to him. Curious, Peter heads to the roof of the Oscorp building. When he arrives, he finds MJ and Harry waiting, each claiming the other invited them. It's quickly revealed that the invitations were a trap set by the Green Goblin, who now plans to kill all the people he considers a nuisance. The Goblin attacks the rooftop with pumpkin bombs, forcing Peter, MJ, and Harry to run for the Oscorp elevator. As they escape, Peter tries to suit up as Spider-Man, only to remember that he burned his costume earlier. He separates from the group to find a replacement, eventually grabbing a new Spider-Man outfit from a clothing store and racing back. Meanwhile, another figure steps into the scene, a man in a trench coat with mechanical tentacles, Dr. Octopus. His arrival sets the stage for an all-out rooftop battle. In a desperate move, Green Goblin kidnaps MJ and flies off to the Manhattan Bridge, prompting a high-stakes chase. Spider-Man defeats Green Goblin by slamming him into a massive spiderweb. Dr. Octopus, meanwhile, is taken out by several pumpkin bombs detonating around him. The story ends with both villains being arrested and taken to court, while Spider-Man and MJ share a kiss. Like the theatrical version, the final scene reunites Peter, Harry, and MJ, but instead of Norman's funeral, the setting is a courtroom where they likely testified against Osborn. The script closes with Peter swinging through the city, renewing his promise to Uncle Ben and choosing to live as Spider-Man once again.